We'll get the full third game here. Ross has taken it to 3. How do you feel about that? And when talking to humans players, the matchup they least want to see, they'll oftentimes say is elves.
It's actually really similar. This was the case with Bant Eldrazi. This mana deck that has large creature payoffs. Elves just goes wide, and you don't have much in the way of ways to interact with them. So the Elf deck kind of snowballs. They inevitably get to a point where Zuri can crash through, and your deck doesn't do much that interacts with that.
Now, John, however, on the play has a turn 1 Noble Hierarch, and Kendall, no 1-mana play out of elves is surprising.
Yeah, that is trouble.
Yeah. Turn 2 Mantis Rider. This is how John Rossum wins these games. He'll get hit with a Path to Exile, fair enough.
Okay, that's kind of a 1-mana play.
It's a lot of lands for John. I don't know.
Well, the Humans deck isn't really a deck that capitalizes on having a lot of lands.
That is true. And we will see Devoted Druid from Kendall. He does also have white mana in play. We might actually just see a combo.
Yeah, with turn 2 Devoted Druid, sometimes you actually just win on turn 3. Vizier Remedies, Azuri.
Sure.
Make your Druid large. I'm pretty sure that creature doesn't have Defender.
We see Reflector Mage from John Rossum and Champion of the Parish. Put the Devoted Druid back in the hand. So far, so good for the humans player. Kendall shocks to 18 and try to recast some cards. Enough Reflector Mages, and it doesn't matter. Here's Elvish Archdruid. John gets another Reflector Mage. I'm feeling pretty good about his side.
He was able to commit a couple humans here, make that Champion large. The way that Kendall's hand's playing out, he doesn't have really much in the way of blockers. He hasn't been able to assemble a Dwinnen's Elite, which can stem the bleeding in situations like this.
Now, if Kendall untaps this Archdruid, we're going to see a flurry of elves here. And
I would assume.
He's got to have something in his hand.
Yeah.
And that card just makes a ton of mana. Here's another Champion of the Parish. There's a Meddling Mage left in Rossum's hand. He can mage the Devoted Druid, I suppose.
It feels like Kendall's hand probably has collected companies, the way this is playing out.
It's not going to matter. Here's Thalia's Lieutenant from John Rossum and Meddling Mage.
I'd be inclined to name collected company. Kendall just casting Devoted Druid on the following turn. It requires Vizier plus Azuri. I guess there's a couple cards that find Azuri.
Yeah.
It requires the Vizier to really become a huge problem.
I haven't counted the damage, but John Rossum, if he has a 2-turn clock here, is just fine.
Yes.
If it's a 3-turn clock, then Kendall can recover. He can take 2 hits and then make a board that's unstoppable.
Right.
Names Devoted Druid. He names the card that he knows is there.
It's a very reasonable name. And there are other cards that can be stuck in Kendall's hand.
Yeah.
More copies of Elvish Archdruid. Azuri's just hanging out.
Rossum's attack right now is for 9. It's for the 2 creatures that are eligible. So that'll put Kendall to 9. The next attack's pretty lethal.
There's a lot of pressure for Kendall to create a lot of elves, use the Archdruid to make a lot more elves. Starting with Dwinnen's Elite would be ideal.
Here's Horizon Canopy, Elvish Mystic. Azuri says go. He only has, I guess he can tap for 3. He has 5 mana available here.
He has the ability to use Azuri to free block with the Archdruid and the Elvish Pistol, because you can just regenerate them using the mana off the Archdruid.
So he's at 8, so he can block 2 creatures, is that right?
Yeah, you block the largest, and then there's still 7 left over, but any human increases that.
Okay, so if John hits a land, Kendall can go to 1.
Yeah. Land or Ether Vial would be bricks here.
Yeah, it's exactly 7, isn't it? 2 from the Mage, 2 from the Lieutenant, 3 from the Reflector Mage. Block the 2 biggest. Yeah, it looks fine to me. Kendall's hand is Devoted Druid and Court of Calling. And you have to be so careful. If you let Kendall untap on this board, he might just 20 you.
There is a good amount of mana. I'm trying to figure out exactly where he can end up. The Archdruid with certain combinations, if you can activate the Azuri multiple times, you do only get a couple creatures that actually get to attack, because you probably have to use the Archmage's mana. That one's likely not attacking.
Okay.
So then you have Mystic plus Azuri. Even with 2 activations, what does that get you to, 15? That's
Yeah, it's not enough now, but you might be able to make a board that can't be swung through.
right.
You know, then there's right now 2 free regenerating attackers. Next turn there could be 100.
Yeah. If you get Kendall down to 1, then that turns Mantis Rider into a lethal top deck.
Well, this attack's not going to do it. John only has 3, so only the smallest creature gets through it. Only Kendall can go to 5 pretty easily here. You know, block the 2 big ones, regenerate both his creatures. Azuri's regenerate another target elf.
Yes, can't regenerate itself.
So you see block on the big champion, block on the next biggest champion, tap Archdruid for 3 green, regenerate both my guys. He could also let both these creatures go and cord. Is that what he's going to do? I suppose he could have 2 mana floating and cord for 1. We'll see how this all plays out. Gonna cord for the Devoted Druid.
Okay, he might have a combo online next turn then.
Okay, so then he could let he could let Elvish Mystic go and regenerate the Archdruid perhaps, or let them all go. Oh yeah, because that was all 5 of his mana, so he lets both blockers go. It feels like he has a Vizier here, Ryan.
Right. It looks like it doesn't matter, but I believe that Rossum misevaluated how many creatures he was supposed to attack with. But with this line, if that is cord into either second cord or Vizier,
Yep.
there's going to be some infinite trampling damage coming through.
Yeah, and so here we do have Chord of Calling for 2. There is a 1 Vizier of Remedies in the deck. Vizier plus Devoted Druid is infinite mana. Infinite mana into Azuri is a lot of overruns. And Kendall Burdette, despite a great start from John Rossum, I think he might have this.
Rossum has some sideboard static casters, though he would have had to have responded.
And he doesn't. Kendall Burdette takes the win and improves to 4-1 with Elves.
Really rough matchup for Rossum, but
It's
Kendall
so
Burdette,
hard.
Yeah, going to 4-1.
Yeah, and if Kendall